Senator, good to see you.
Good to be here.
Let's talk about kids real quick. You have been a coach first. We have something in common. We both had a stint at a place called Ole Miss.
Yeah.
If there's any rebels out there, hotty toddy. I knew there's always one somewhere. You're probably running the show. That's what I like to hear. I want to ask you about you when you ran. There was a lot of people, I'm one of them, it was like, what the hell are you doing? Why would you leave this great life? You got to be involved in the arena of sports. You got to mentor young men. You got to have an impact on their lives. You then get to sit back and kind of enjoy it a little bit. And then you decided, I'm going to run for Senate. Why did you do that?
My wife asked me the same thing. What the hell are you doing? Ben, it's good to see you.
Good to be here.
I saw through education and traveling as a head coach all across the country, going into high schools and homes, I saw the indoctrination process, and we are indoctrinating our kids in the government schools across the country. That's the reason we need school choice. Can I get an amen on that? We have to change direction. If we don't, we're going to lose. Folks, our country is in bad trouble. I've been up here 3 years, and I've seen all this mess, and it starts with what's going on with our family, with our kids, and with this crazy idea of gender. They want everybody to be the same. And it's, you can't make it up what's going on up here. You really can't. But I'm for school choice. We have to get that. It's a necessity. We've got unions. Unions at one time were good for this country, but not unions for our teachers in our schools, because they have absolutely been the ones that drag our country down, because they want to teach this woke DEI socialism agenda that our parents don't want. And of course the government have attacked our parents for years. They want to divide the family. They want the dad gone. They want the mom to get a check for every kid to, be on welfare. It's a disaster, and it all goes back to Christian and moral values.
You mentioned the home, and I think this is exactly what communist, socialist, Marxists want. They don't want a dad in the home. They want the government to be the dad. My hometown of Memphis, Tennessee this year, they think that about 84 to 86% of all African-American children born this year will be born into single-parent households in my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. The government has become the father. And you see the crime that's rampant in cities like Memphis that I love. You see it in places all over the country where you have these liberals that have taken over the school boards. They've taken over local government. They're letting criminals out of jail. The other day, we had a man that shot a woman 4 times in Memphis while she was in surgery for a life-saving surgery at the hospital. That's America now under the Democratic Party, and they love the fact they're controlling these mothers and their kids.
Exactly, and it's getting worse. If you just look at the migrant situation that we're having now, the open borders, there's a reason for that. I mean, they're overwhelming all states in the country. They really want to overwhelm the red states. And how are they doing that? I've got a couple of high schools in the state of Alabama where I represent, and because of this illegal immigration, they have gone from 15, 20, 30% of Hispanic to 70, 80%. We're having to educate them. And that's a hard job when they don't speak our language. It's just atrocious what this government's doing. Joe Biden's administration, it's not him. He doesn't know what day it is. But it's the administration that he's got.
Or what year he was the vice president, but let's not stop there, right?
Yeah. Well, let's go past that one, too. There's people behind the scenes running this show, and it's just, being a non-politician, being an educator all my life, and coming and seeing this clown show up here, it hurts to know. My dad fought in World War II. He died on active duty in the military, but all the things that are being attacked, from our education to our family, transgender in sports, which don't get me talking about that.
We're about to, don't worry.
Yeah. And then, of course, the military, the law enforcement, our debt. I mean, there's no answers. They want no answers up here. They want government to take over, and as you said, that's their number one goal. They want to control everybody. Those of you out there think your economy is good right now. Your economy is good because we're borrowing on your credit card, taxpayer credit card, $80,000 a second. 4.6 million a minute is how much we're putting on a credit card for the taxpayers going out there. Money's being flushed out there. Your economy looks great. Folks, grab a hold and hold on, because it's going to get bad. Because sooner or later, we all know that credit card debt's got to be paid.
I want to talk about, and you have a unique perspective as a coach. I played sports in college, played tennis at Ole Miss, and it's not hard to figure out there's a difference between men and women in sports. There's a reason why you have men's basketball, women's basketball. There's a reason why you have men's football in college and you don't have women's football in college. Doesn't mean that one's better than the other. But this idea that we are going to blend these together and anybody can wake up on any given day and go, I'm the opposite sex. We had track stars that are breaking women's records. We have swimmers that are breaking women's records. We have trophies that are being taken away. But what worries me more than that is scholarships. When you work your tail off, there's a lot of kids that make it out of poverty because of sports into college. It may not be an SEC school. It may be a Division II school. It may be a Division III. It may be a combination of scholarships. But I've witnessed scholarships give kids a better life. I was one of them. I had to pay for college myself, and I knew it was going to be by hitting that yellow ball really hard. I look at these girls now. They're having scholarships that are going to be taken away from them. And not just that, but then they're in a locker room with a man. Did you ever think when you were a coach you'd even be having this conversation we're having right now?
No, we've lost it. And everybody asks me, why? Why are we doing this? And I'll tell you why we're doing it. We are not doing this. The Democrats' Socialist Party is dividing family. We've talked about that. Dividing the family. They're dividing gender, or actually they're trying to bring gender together because they think men can have babies now, which is another story. So, but now they want to tear down our sports, because sports is one of the things that has really made this country great, because kids at a young age go learn how to compete against each other. They learn how to
win
work.
or lose.
They learn how to win. They learn how to lose. But that's been a golden idea in the United States of America for years. Now they're trying to tear it down. They want men to play in women's sports. People are going to get hurt. I got a bill on the floor. Well, I had one on the floor. They're not going to bring it up, but at least we put it out there. Protect Women and Girls in Sports Act. Well, that didn't make it to the floor. Schumer could care less because he believes in that.
I want to pause you on that, and I want to ask you, when you put this bill together, this is not a crazy bill. It's protecting women's sports. You would think every liberal, every feminist, every women's group would be running to your office to support you. What was the reaction of your colleagues in the Senate, specifically Democrats and specifically female senators, when you're doing something that used to be this would be feminism 101? Did any of them call you and go, hey man, I love this, I want to co-sign, I want to be a part of this, I want to help you protect women's sports? Or was it totally silent because you're a Republican and you're an evil person?
Well, we know the Democrats aren't going to vote for it, but I actually had a couple of Republicans vote against me on this. And I went and asked them, don't you have a daughter? Don't you have granddaughters? I mean, what planet are you coming from? I mean, this is not right. This is American values. So that didn't make it to the floor. Now I've got a new one. Those of you that hadn't heard this, is the Olympic Committee has decided this year coming up that all the Olympic sports can make their own decision to let men play in women's sports. Well, the first one decided the other day that the boxing committee decided this year that men can box against women in the Olympics. Yes. Somebody's going to get hurt.
No, I'm not joking when I say someone's going to get killed.
Yeah, and they have no common sense. There's zero common sense, folks, up here in the clown world. I'm telling you, nobody looks out for anybody else other than their power and their obsession of turning this country into a globalist socialist country. Nobody cares.
When you look forward 5-10 years from now, what's going to break the back of this insanity? Is it going to be women getting hurt? Is it going to be no more women's sports at the NCAA level because it's just going to all be co-ed? I mean, where is there a point where we get a correction? Because we're clearly not there. I mean, even people, Martina Navratilova, one of the greatest tennis stars in history, one of the first athletes to come out of the closet, she has come out and has now been attacked by the LGBT community because she said, Women should not be playing with men. This is insane. And they're now going after her, trying to destroy her entire life work in sports.
Oh, yeah.
So
Caitlin?
what's going to happen? Do you see it?
Yeah. Well, you see it kind of bubbling, and it's getting worse and worse. Caitlin Jenner, I talk to her all the time. She's totally against this, you know. And I've told Caitlin, you were one of my heroes growing up. Remember Bruce Jenner
Back when it was Bruce.
won the decathlon and years ago. But they know the difference, okay? They know the difference. But the only thing that's going to change this is leadership. We have no leadership here. I mean, we have to have a leader of this country. And you know what I'm coming to. We had a leader for 4 years, and they ran him out. They ran him out, and they're trying to keep him getting reelected this time. They stuffed a ballot box on him 4 years ago. We've got to get Donald Trump elected president of the United States. Folks, you have got to do all you can do to get everybody to go vote. Because I'm telling you, I'm just an average country boy from the South that came to the big city that has been amazed. If you don't have that White House, I don't care if you got the Senate, I don't care if you've got the House, if you don't have that White House with the power that the President of the United States now has, if we don't get him back in that White House, it is going to be tough for any of us to survive in the greatest country ever of 248 years. And so that has got to be our step forward for the next 10 months. Now, it's going to be rough. You're going to have the groups coming out on the left that we saw a few years ago, tearing down cities, burning buildings. Hey, we got to wipe our hands of that, and we got to understand that no matter what happens in the next 10 months, he has got to be reelected, because he's the only thing that's going to save us from losing this great country that we live in.
Amen. I want to ask you about the deep state. I have the privilege, I get to co-host a podcast with one of your colleagues, Senator Ted Cruz. If you don't download it, Verdict with Ted Cruz. We talk a lot about the weaponization of the FBI, of the deep state against Americans. And we have seen something that I never thought we'd see in our lifetime. I mentioned this in the beginning. We have a deep state that's now coming after parents. And coming after parents, taking kids away from parents who won't let their kids transition. We saw that this past week, a headline that came out about that, about a child that was actually taken. We have teachers who are now basically spying on parents at home that are conservative, turning them into child protective services because they are teaching their kids right and wrong and basic issues in life that deal with faith and religion. And we have a DOJ and an FBI that looks as parents as domestic terrorists because they show up at school board meetings. And they're sending out memos, and they've never apologized for it. They've never rescinded it officially. They've said, oh, we're not really doing that. And the FBI director played a word game. As parents, that concerns me. But as a senator, what else do we not know that they're doing against the American family?
And that's a good point. And for those of you in here, you go back home, the area it really starts is not the federal government, it's not the state government, it's local government.
Amen.
People have to get involved back in your local government. You got to run for school board. You got to run for city council. Those are the groups that are going to control our country and make our country better or destroy our country. We got a lot of people. We all seen a couple years ago about governors and school board members saying that, well, we own your child. You don't own your child. We own your child. We're going to indoctrinate them. And that's the direction that we're headed. I mean, they want to control everything that we do. They hate Christianity. They hate it. I mean, it's something that if you pull the Constitution out on them, you know, they run like it's a crucifix for them. I mean, it is unbelievable. The entire thing here is globalization, overtaking everything that we do, being able to control everything in your life. And how do you do that? You bankrupt you, number one. Well,
Amen.
We're already bankrupt, okay? We're bankrupt. We're $35 trillion in debt, and it's going to get worse. As I said, we're printing more money than you can ever imagine. But that's how they're making things work. But we got to do it. We got to go back to the local level and start over. But again, it starts at the top with a leader that's going to give you the opportunity to do that, and that's Donald Trump. But it also is going to give people opportunities to go back into the cities and go back into your communities and take over what they've stolen from us. It's the rights of the American people, the greatest country ever. And again, we're not going to have many more chances. I hope we can get it back to this point. Now, the next 10 months is really going to be a test for all of us in here. It's going to be a huge test. They're coming after you. They're going to come after you. They're going to look, they're going to vilify you. You're going to see everything in the world said about Donald Trump or your local conservative politician. We got to stand strong. This is going to be the toughest thing in the world that you're going to see. They are going to come after you. They're going to come after your churches, your anything to do with any kind of discipline, your law enforcement. It's going to be a tough time because they can't give up. They know a lot of these people are going to go to jail when Donald Trump gets elected. And I'm going to be right there helping.
I'm going to be glued to the TV when that's happening. I want to pivot, and I want to ask you something that is also an important issue. It deals with foreign policy. You guys had a very important vote in the Senate on Ukraine funding. A lot of people may not realize you went to Ukraine before everything broke out. You met with Zelensky before everything happened. Can you tell us a little bit about what that meeting was like and what you saw coming down the pipe and now where we are?
Well, went back about 3 or 4 months before it started. He was begging a few of us senators that went to see him. He said, "We need help. You know, they're going to come unless you give us weapons to put on our border. Help us. You know, show them that we got a show of strength and that you're going to help." Well, Joe Biden wouldn't do it. Obviously, they allowed them to come in. Now, we're the one that forced this war because we kept forcing NATO on Ukraine and showing Russia, hey, we're going to build military bases on your borders. And Putin said, no, you're not going to do that. And so now I've got a bunch of my people that I'm in the Republican Party with that voted for this $60 billion. Now, I hadn't voted for any money to go to Ukraine because I know they can't win. They don't, you know, you hate that they've had 300,000 or 400,000 people killed, so Russians also. You hate that we supported this. We're pushing them out in front of the guns or out in front of the bus, as I guess you'd speak. It's an atrocity, but they can't win. And so we need to get diplomacy, but there's nobody in this White House, Secretary of State or Biden, that can actually go over and negotiate. Now, we've done more negotiating in 1 month with Israel and Hamas, our group has, than we have for 2 years with Ukraine and Russia. We just want that war to continue on. We got to get it over with. Donald Trump will stop it when he first gets in. He knows there's no winning for Ukraine. He can work a deal with Putin. Then we got Middle East, and then you got China over on the other side. That's our number one adversary. Yeah, this is a mess. I mean, all created by Joe Biden and his blundering in foreign relations. And then you go back to the number one thing that really counts is us. I mean, they're destroying us from within. So they're accomplishing a lot of goals in 3 years. But again, the next year is going to be very tough, but we will overcome this. Donald Trump's going to get elected. We'll take back over, and we're going to put Christian values back in this country and tell these people to get back at the back line.
Final question. When I got into radio and I started at a young age when I was 12, my goal was to make a difference in the country. Every day when I do my podcast, every day when I do my show, every day when I'm doing the show with Senator Cruz, the other one, I try to give people a mission, a game plan, and some hope. You're a coach first, you're Senator second. I like that. It's like a way better resume than Senator first, coach second. What's the game plan for the rest of this year, for everyone here, that everyone's watching online? What is it your goal you would tell them? What do they need to do getting ready for November?
Well, first of all, you got to know the goal that you're shooting for. Our goal is to take back our country. We've got to take back our country as we knew it. We have a constitutional republic that's hard to hold on to. We've gone a long time. We're the longest running democracy ever. And people are trying to take it from us. We got communists, socialists. We got people that are trying to divide the country. But we have to know our plan. So we've got to take our country and make it better. But to do that, we've got to regain control. Our game plan is from the ground up, from the grassroots into the counties, the cities, the small neighborhoods, to understand the direction this country is going and reverse it. And so we got to take over. We got to take back over, as we talked about earlier, the education part of our communities. But remember, our number one commodity in this country, our number one commodity is our young people. That's the future. We got to make sure that they understand, because now this Generation Z they didn't vote. Now they vote. And so we're going to have to do a lot of discussion. So our game plan is to go back to our communities and make sure that however they vote, people have an understanding of what this is about. You got to know now, These young kids, I've got a kid that's 27, 28, they never watch news. What do they look at? Their phone. They get their news off a phone, which is, a lot of it's not very good. So we got to get out and speak to the young groups and get them to vote and understand their future is about our Constitution. And so game plan and save our Constitution from young kids on up in every community.
Tell your wife we're sorry you're in D.C., but thank you for giving you to D.C. We appreciate it. Everybody give the senator a big round of applause. You guys are going to have one heck of a CPAC. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.